Welcome, everybody. This is the Taco Boys podcast, of course.
This is the Taco Boys podcast.
I don't even know why I said that now that I'm thinking about it, because they already clicked on it.
That's true. We just want to affirm your decision of how you've chosen to join us.
Yeah.
That we are actually what we say we are.
Yes, and you might have picked up on it there. I heard a little squeak from
What
a
was
third microphone.
Is that a third taco I hear?
I heard a third taco boy in here. He's more of a taco man.
There he is.
Honored.
More man
I would
than
be
boy.
honored to be the third taco man. Taco boy. Sorry.
Well, you know what? It was a sign of respect to call you a taco man, but
That's
we'll
right.
label you boy still.
That's right.
So
So
man.
without further delay, why don't we bring it? Who is this?
yeah, this is welcome. Who is this? I don't know. He just walked in. No.
He's got a hat on.
Hey, I'm just bringing
He's
your
got a
DoorDash.
worship
I'm
leader
bringing
props.
I'm bringing your
Hat
DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash. Hey, hold up. It's got to be waiter.
Taco
Remember,
Bell
we've
in the
got
morning.
Jacob from Mimas Tree listening. It's got to be waiter. Yeah, so the mystery man behind door number 1 is none other than Brian Tabor with Worship Leader Probs.
Oh,
Hey,
props.
You know what I'm saying?
Sorry.
We yeah, a far more successful podcast venture.
That's right.
So we're bringing him on here for credibility.
Hey, let me just say, I'm a fan of the Taco Boys podcast. I
Aw.
listen every week.
That
Yay.
makes me feel good.
That makes me feel warm inside.
I'm
Whenever
driving to
you-
work and I've got tears rolling down my eyes. Like in the pre-stuff, I was like, Christian, you got to bring that laugh, my man. You have got to bring that laugh, like the high pitch.
No pressure.
I always picture you like doubled over backwards when you laugh.
And that's exactly how it is, though. Like there was one time we were recording like in my spare bedroom here, and he was like sitting on the bed, and I'm sitting in an office chair. This was like episode 2 or 3, and he laughed so hard that he just like laid down on the bed.
We
And
did
then,
have
like,
a good time. On
Then
that
you
one.
didn't even move after that. He just remained laying down with the microphone,
That's
like
fantastic.
holding it.
When you're comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
You just stay where you're at.
Absolutely,
You're gonna do your
Logan.
best work when you are just in the comfort zone.
So I'm gonna let if you don't mind, Christian,
I
I'm
do
gonna
not
let
mind.
Brian take it from here and just tell us about what he currently does. Who are you, Brian Tabor?
So I am, who is Brian Taylor? I'm a child of God. I'm a husband. I'm a worship. No. Okay, so I'm,
Did you just say no to all of that? You're like,
not
I'm
a child of God
I'm
and
a
I'm not a
husband.
husband.
No, I'm not. It's like the opposite of the
Well.
yes, I am.
Brian, we just
So-
need to take a moment and tell you about Jesus. Okay?
Yeah, this has turned into a mission.
let me tell you about my friend Jesus.
That is right. The Taco Boys do not shy away from Jesus.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm a worship pastor at a church in Indianapolis, Indiana. Married my college sweetheart, Kim, so we'll celebrate 25 years this August.
Like golf clap. Ooh,
Yeah, and about, 3 years ago, I was walking through the church one Sunday, and some dear saint of the Lord said or did something. I don't remember what it was, but I literally stopped in my tracks and said, man, you can't make this up. And I can't be the only one hearing this today. And so I literally went to the backstage area, and I started searching Instagram for handles where I could, like, use it as an anonymous place to vent. And so, yeah, that's how it started.
The Worship Leader Probs were born. The Probs were born.
Was birthed.
Or was I had like a grammar problem there. I was like, "Hey, the cat is trying to get you in class, dude." I was about to say the Worship Leader Probs was born because it's a singular thing,
Oh,
but then Probs is not.
we're
So I was
already
like,
doing a
we're-
Taco Boy deep dive. I like it.
I know. This is right.
Grammar
All on
with the
yeah,
education
no,
major.
this is-
This is actually
Can't
me
you
just
just say
wanting
was
to fulfill my teaching qualities. Dude, I don't even know. It's so early. What am I doing?
You doing a podcast?
I am doing a
it
podcast.
together, man.
I'm trying. You're so far from your mind. I thought we solved this problem.
I just continuously like it's too close to me.
Why do you think
my
push it
God.
away? So yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so what exactly is Worship Leader Probs?
Whoa.
Boom. Okay. So here's our goal is to entertain, encourage, and equip. And so my thought at least behind it when I started is like, gosh, man, there's got to be a lot of people out there who are experiencing some of these same things in the church. So if we can get them laughing about it, and realizing they're not alone. You know, we all hear so much of the same stuff. It's too loud. We don't do enough hymns. The lights are in my eyes. What is with this ridiculous smoke machine? We all, you know, a lot of us hear a lot of the same stuff. And so we thought, okay, if we can get them laughing and realizing that they're not alone, then let's have some conversations about, you know, leadership, about, you know, ways to navigate all the stuff that, you know, we're all dealing with in our churches, so that we can, you know, really restore the focus to the Lord, which is what we're trying to do. So.
And so how did you start that? Like, so you said you were just in church one day and you're like, I'm going to get on Instagram. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Somebody said something to me, which, you know, as a worship pastor.
Do you remember what it was? I'm sorry to interrupt.
I don't remember what it was. I need to really do some thinking about.
Well, you're in the perfect place.
Yeah, the rest of this episode, we're just going to be dead quiet, and you're going to be trying to think of the one
was
thing.
It this?
Yeah, we're just suggesting things. Was it that your jeans were too tight? Was it that the hymn was updated and modern?
That is a strong possibility.
Did she tell you looked like a Yeti? Oh, wait, that was something someone said to me.
Yeah, that made it onto the podcast.
Why can't you look more like your brother?
Yeah, that was another one said to me. Those both made it onto his podcast, I think it was.
They did, absolutely.
And which I'd forgotten both times that I had sent them to you. So then I'm like listening to the podcast, and I was like, man, that sounds just like something. Oh, that was said to me last week.
Yeah, and those of you that want to know what we're talking about, go to WorshipLeaderProbs podcast.
Yes.
And look for Taco Boy 1, 2.
Search for the second Taco Boy. The episode is not labeled by that, so you're going to be digging for a little while.
If you could go back and relabel that, it would be
exactly.
So thank you so much.
It's like a almost guest.
Be a real servant's heart of you if you do that for us. Thanks so much.
Yeah. You said you wanted to equip with the Worship Leader Probs, so could you please equip us with a label on your podcast to tell people which one is mine?
So okay, for me, I'm really intrigued about how you were like, why was it? That's a meme page, right?
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. There was no master plan. Like it literally, it started as a place for me to vent anonymously and get some things off my chest. And here's the deal: nobody noticed for a really long time, but I sort of felt better. I was throwing these things out into the memosphere, and so. And so then
trademark.
Exactly. So then people started to notice, and they started to share it. And then I remember I was really new to Instagram, and I didn't even know what the little blue check mark was. And that's like a verified account, which usually those are like famous people or whatever. And so I started to see a lot of blue check marks. People, Paul Balash, Candace Payne, some of these people, and I was like, okay, this just changed a little bit, because mostly at the beginning it was literally me
It was just for fun, like
just for fun. I'm shoving my phone in my wife's face, saying, "Is this funny?" And
it's poor Kristen. That's my wife's whole life now. Except now it's just Jeff Goldblum. Is Jeff Goldblum still funny? She's like, please stop it.
Right, and my wife was like, "Still, you're still doing this. What is this? What is this thing that you've gotten into?"
Is this semi like how Job felt? Just stop these memes and die.
And he's like, I will never stop. He's like, wow, is this pronounced memes?
Yeah, me.
You know how you talk to your wife in the Bible? Woman.
Oh man, so
it's just like Job minus the leprosy.
That's right.
So what made you, instead of just like writing a blog, and just being like, type, this is how I feel, what made you want to do memes? You know, was
Well,
it to soften a blow?
Yeah,
you know,
a little
like,
bit,
to
a little
present it
bit.
in a way.
Yeah, and I had seen some that really made me laugh, and I was like, I didn't do a ton of investigating, but I was like, I don't know that there's a lot of people out there doing these from the worship perspective, which seems to be like just the harvest is plentiful, you know, because we're all facing so much of this. And so I remember there was a day where somebody sent us a DM, and it was like this really heart-crushing ministry question. And so that day when I went and shoved my phone in my wife's face, I was like, okay, this I think is taking a turn. What am I supposed to do? And she was like, well, answer it. And I think I started thinking, you know, that should tell us a little bit about the state of not all of them, but of many of our guys and gals who are leading worship in churches, you know, in terms of health, you know, spiritual health, emotional health. This is somebody who is sending a DM to an anonymous account on the internet. They must really need help, you know. I mean, if they're trusting this person they don't know. And so, you know, I just started answering questions. I would take questions, and still nobody knew who I was. And so I serve on the advisory board for this worship conference that happens in Orlando every September, called Experience Conference. And so I was at a planning meeting one day, and I'm sitting by this guy named Jeremy, and I just needed to unburden myself, man, because nobody knew, and the account was growing, but it wasn't like, you know, set on fire or anything. But I said to him, hey, I need to tell you something. And I don't know what he thought was coming next, but he like leaned in like it was going to be this really serious thing. Yeah, and I was like, hey.
You're like, I killed a man yesterday. It's really been bugging me.
Just to watch him die. It was in Reno. I was in Nevada yesterday.
Jeremy's like, cool deal. All right, anyway, I've got to go.
So
You're next.
So I'm sitting there, and I said, hey, man, I gotta tell you something. And he goes, yeah, what's going on? I was like, I see that you follow this account on Instagram called WorshipLeaderProbs. And he goes, oh, yeah, I love it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, it's me. And he goes, no way. Like, nobody believed it. Nobody believed it, because in big groups especially, like, I'm not the guy who gravitates to the front. I'm not going to be the loudest voice almost in any room I walk into. So he didn't believe me, so I pulled it up on my phone and showed him.
Did you already know him? Did y'all already have, like...
We knew... Yes, we knew each other, but I wouldn't say that we were like BFFs or anything like that. Like, we served on this team together, and I went to college with the worship pastor that he was serving with, so I knew the worship pastor way better than I knew Jeremy.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, if you've ever listened to our podcast, you know, Jeremy, they're a waiting family for adoption. They've lost a couple of children, you know, in some really tragic ways. And my wife and I have not had that experience, but we don't have kids. And so his worship pastor was like, hey, I went to college with that dude. He doesn't have kids. You ought to just talk to him. Maybe there's some friendship there that you guys can encourage one another. So we were sitting next to each other to talk about that. And then all of a sudden this came out. And so as we left those meetings, we stayed in touch and texted a lot, phone calls. And I was telling him, you know, I feel like maybe the next step for us could be a podcast, but I don't know a single thing about podcasts. I don't know how to do them. And Jeremy had been a part of a podcast before, and he was like, well, I do. And I thought, you know, that's pretty unique to have the worship person and the production person on a podcast together, because in many places that's kind of an adversarial or becomes kind of a tension filled. Not every place, but in many places it can be a little tension filled. And so let's talk about it, and let's talk about it together, and maybe that would be helpful to some people. So yeah.
Wow,
cool.
That's fantastic.
And, you know, we both just cleared our throats at the same time. It's just going to be one massive cough. Everyone's going to be like, oh, my ears.
We'll sync up that. So.
Yeah. Like, could you clear your throat with us, Brian? No. Perfect. We'll put that in there in post. We just put a computer
post.
that's like, ahem, cough. cough, cough, cough. Yeah. So like, what's really funny is, I had been listening to your podcast for a long while, and I didn't ever find it's so weird that you're now on our podcast because
Crazy.
this is like a world that I would not have thought that we would have ended up in. And I just remember when your page followed my Jeff Goldblum page, and I was like, what is going on? And this is while you were still anonymous. And you were like disguising. You were still disguising your voice. And it was like you were using like my name is Mr. Probs.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Deep,
Yeah.
Wait, Mr. Probs?
Mr. Probs, yeah. He
That's
was
what they
calling
call me,
himself
yeah.
Mr. Probs.
Props to Probs.
Props
So
to
and
Probs.
people were guessing. So we thought, okay, I think it'd be really funny because we started to get
They're
all
like,
these
it's
questions.
Sandy Patty.
Yeah, exactly. We started to get all these questions about who are you? Does your team know you lead this? What do they think of it? Blah, blah, blah. And when are you going to tell us who you are? And so finally I was just like, I literally just pulled a number out of thin air. Get us to 50,000 Instagram followers, and I'll tell you who I am. And I turned to my wife, and I was like, that ain't never going to happen. And
You did it because you didn't want to reveal who you were?
Exactly.
Was that the case?
Yeah. And so
Because it's like suddenly people are going to go back and look at old memes, and they're going to be like, hey,
that's me.
I think that's about me. Brian was talking about me.
Yeah, and to this day,
it's like
people,
some really specific meme. It's like when Ethel walks up to you wearing a pink shirt and starts insulting that you sang "How Great Thou Art" wrong, and she's like, "Hey, I was wearing a pink shirt when I insulted Brian."
My name's Ethel.
So literally last week, a guy on our team came in to rehearsal to sound check late on the weekend, and he put both hands up and he was like, "Don't meme me."
Don't meme me.
My gosh.
Hey, but just let me say one thing. Okay, so lots of meme pages out there, but when I saw the Goldblum, I was like, okay, this is legit. Like it's like my wife will tell you when we're looking at restaurants, I'm going to go for like the mom and pop place because those are the places that are doing things that the chains aren't doing, right? And so when I saw your page, I was like, okay, this is legit somebody who's doing something like he's charting a new course, and I had to follow
Well,
it
you know
'cause it's
what's
hilarious.
weird is, we're in that meme chat that I've told Christian about, the legendary chat of all the meme pages.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can be overbearing because you walk in and you're like in the middle of a conversation and you're just like, I have missed everything.
Yeah, if you miss an
But-
hour, there's no shot at catching up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, basically what we discovered is after I started my very niche meme page is that everyone jumped on that train, and suddenly it was just like all of these very specific actor meme pages. But thankfully none of them have like passed me. I was like, ooh, Jeff Goldblum's just very memeable. So
He
like,
is. He's so funny.
He's beloved,
He
in
is.
that, like a way.
He's
that
a fun
that
guy.
Disney Plus series, the episode 1 about the sneakers. I was dying because I was thinking of you the whole time as he's making these bizarre facial expressions and all these little.
I still haven't figured out how to screenshot Disney Plus because they like made it impossible to.
That's
You can't
crazy.
screenshot it on this.
I've tried, and well, no, I didn't try on my
just
computer.
Command Shift
Yeah,
4,
we
and you
gotta.
can screenshot.
I see
might have
Christian.
solved our
I see
problem.
Christian like putting a lab coat on, glasses, and going into the laboratory.
He's like Dr. Taco Boy now.
What'd you get your
You've
doctorate
immediately
in?
gotten a doctorate after telling me how to screenshot on a computer.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. It's like, sorry to all my doctor friends, but we can do it too. Like,
We can do it too.
Yeah.
The Taco Boys.
I had dinner last night with one of my friends who is a doctor, and I'm always calling him Dr. Moon because his last name is Moon. And just to mess with him, I'm like, hey, Dr. Moon, how are you? And he's a dentist. And last night I mentioned, I was like, well, just by default, like, you have a doctorate, you are more experienced than us. And he was like, no, I'm not. And I was like, dude, don't even lie. You are. You are a doctor. Like, you have beat us. So, anyway.
Please tell me when you left, you said "Good night, Moon."
Oh, dang it. I have not done it, but you better believe I will now. Definitely. So anyway, I'm sorry, I got us off topic. What was your question again?
My question?
Oh, we were talking about how no one knew who you were.
Oh yeah,
for
a
long time.
Yeah. So
and I experienced that whole thing of like, who the heck
How
is he?
that to experience it? Like to know him from before, and now like knowing him as you do.
It was weird because like I was a fan of the page already, you know, and I was like, who is it?
Did you
Who's this
want to
gonna
know?
be?
Were you like?
There was a part of me that wanted to not know.
Yeah,
because I was like, what if the magic dies? Like,
and for some, it did.
Found out he's some white leader.
Yeah, what if I found out he's some guy from Indy? Like the worst day of my life. Yeah, wears
It's
glasses
awesome.
and a hat.
I remember not long after we revealed who I was, I'm on an Instagram live with the Honest Youth Pastor, and somebody goes, "This looks like a before and after picture. Like Honest Youth Pastor is before, and WorshipLeaderProbs is the after." And I was like,
wait, y'all don't even look alike.
That's what I thought.
It's like two different people. It's not even a before and after. What are they talking about?
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so my thought was I thought I could be more honest if people didn't know who I was. And then it kind of I didn't intend for it to be this thing. And you know what, in the big picture it really wasn't, but in my little world it kind of became a thing. And I'm I'm at church and I'll see people pulling it up on their phones and I'm like, you don't know, like the guy who did that is 5 feet away from me. And like other pastors on the staff are texting me memes that I made,
memes,
which is
and you have to like fake that you
Exactly.
haven't seen it.
Just
I'm like,
tap
oh
back.
my gosh, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
You're like, that guy must be amazing. I would say if he worked at our church, he probably should get a raise.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and I remember that I didn't know who you were, but at the same time I was like, I knew that you and I got along.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, because we would just like message each other random stuff, and then it ended up that you were about to hit 50,000, and I was like, do I want to know who he is? It's like the blind date. And then it ended up, I remember watching on Facebook the live stream where you revealed who you were. And I was just like, I had already done this mugshot type picture, by the way.
Yeah, you did like a police sketch.
Yeah, because we were in the meme chat, and I was like, I need some description of what he looks like just the day before he was revealed. And I was like, I'm going to try to do a police sketch. And it's pretty close.
It's close. It's pretty close. I showed it to my wife, and I was like, holy cow, man. This is like,
the internet is scary.
From 3 questions, this is what he did. So,
in other words, I totally missed my calling and opportunity to work for the police.
Another right boy in the police.
Yeah, it's like my older brother's a police officer. My younger brother was a police officer. And who knew it? I was supposed to be the ultimate, and I missed it. Ended up in youth ministry instead. So, yeah, I just remember that was, like, crazy because, like, it went from just, like, 0 to 100. Like, no one knew who you were, and no one knew what your voice really sounded like. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like, here's Brian.
Right. And people were guessing, is this, Chris Tomlin? Is this Lincoln Brewster? For whatever reason, those were the two names that people always guessed. And I kept being like, lower your expectations. Like in every podcast, I was like, please lower your expectations.
Please lower your expectations.
Well, I love how he's Darth Vader now.
I was about to say, that was actually a pretty dang good.
It sounded pretty much just like Darth Vader. It was kind of scary.
Hey, Christian, can you say it in Spanish? Can you say it in Spanish?
Can you do it?
I don't know how to say lower.
Lower. Just use the English word in the middle of it.
I would say like that, but that would be like leave.
Go for it. You got this. Neither of us will be able to correct you.
I won't know.
Conjugation.
Like Brian and I will just be like, that sounded great. Like,
oh my god.
Por favor, déjense tus expectaciones.
There's the title. That's the title of the episode.
We are multicultural over here at the Taco Boy. We're really trying to branch out to everybody, you know. Next week, I'm going to say the 2 words in German that I know. Dua Klinka.
Don't reveal.
That's just doorknob in Spanish. It's not Spanish in German.
My words in German says a Spanish word.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no, I went back to the other culture. Now we're just bicultural.
Oh my gosh.
Brian, do you know any other languages?
Yeah.
I know that's a random question, kind of, but
I did study. I studied Spanish in school. I don't remember most. I remember cocina, baño. You know,
that's the important stuff right there.
hamburguesa. Is that him?
Hey.
Right, there you go.
Hamburguesas, yeah.
Yeah, I never got the authentic, like the rolling and the R's and all that stuff. I had a really hard time with that. Yeah. So we took our church, one of our biggest mission partners is in Poland. And so I asked them, you know, I'm like, I'm going to be leading worship in Poland. And so they said, well, what is a phrase that you would commonly say? And so I usually would say, hey, sing with me. And so they told me, I'm going to see, śpiewajcie z nami.
Whoa.
Which I think is sing with me
Check
in
that
Polish.
one off the list.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We've now spoken German, Polish, and Spanish.
Right?
Is that what it was?
Say again.
Śpiewajcie name?
It's like a śpiewajcie z nami, I think is.
Śpiewajcie z nami.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's great. It kind of like, for some reason, like when you said name, I'm just like thinking of that like term when people are like, noms. Like, this is so good.
At first I was like, that's a term? I don't even...
And then all of a sudden in my head, it turned into like someone eating something spicy that was nom. And I was like, oh, spicy noms.
Spicy noms. It's a new T-shirt idea.
There you go.
The spicy
right.
noms on
Yeah,
it.
when
International.
you bite into the taco and it's some spiky.
Dude, by the way, we're recording this podcast in the morning, so we are like at least the 2 taco boys that are the regulars are almost out of commission.
That's right. We only do mid-afternoon.
Whereas Brian Tabor, he has been awake since 3 a.m. being like a night owl, right?
Yeah,
Wait, how early do you get up?
You know, I'm a 5 a.m.er usually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an old guy.
I exaggerated it a bit.
Yeah. So I'm an old guy. But that's like my
or just a discipline.
Well, yeah, my wife would not use that word. Yeah. So,
And that's the real worship leader
hear her
prob.
all of a sudden in the
That is
background.
prob right there.
The problem is that his wife is not on board with him getting up so early. It's just, if you go to Worship Leader Probs, it's just thousands of memes about him getting up early in the morning.
It's actually a new meme page. It's like being the wife of a worship pastor.
Yeah, it's like Kim is just commenting on each one like, I don't like this. That's a new page idea.
That is.
The
There you
niche
go.
market is wide
Oh
open.
my gosh. I guess
you
that could be no.
Throw a celebrity in there, and it's like a double dip, you know?
Whoa.
Like,
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum, Brian staying up and getting up too early memes is the next popular
it could
page.
be the Clint Howard, this is not funny page.
Clint Howard. Oh, I missed the Clint Howard
5
page.
a.m. memes.
I had this dream. There are so many amazing pictures of Clint Howard out there. And I had this dream that somebody would do a Clint Howard meme page. And if you don't know who Clint Howard is, it's Ron Howard's brother. Just Google it, and you will recognize him. He's like a character actor. And Blind Memeing the Blind, were you in on this?
I didn't make the page,
Okay.
but I knew that he made it.
Yeah,
after,
he made it,
like,
and
a
it
few.
lasted for like 2 memes, and then it turned into something else.
Yeah, this dude. Yeah, Christian's looking at him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very memeable.
He is very memeable.
You know, and he showed up on an episode of the Andy Griffith Show a couple of times.
Are you serious?
Yes, he was like a child, and he was always like wearing a cowboy hat and like standing on the sidewalk, and he would just like observe something happen.
That's probably the best photo I've ever seen
Yeah.
in my life.
Show Brian that photo.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Oh my
Yeah, he's on an episode, I think of 2 or 3, where he just showed
Oh
up
my
as this
gosh.
bystander child who was like usually just staring at everyone like, what is going on? And now you look at him and you're like, that's a baby. That's a baby Howard.
That's a baby.
That's a baby. Where are his parents?
Oh my gosh.
So now when you ended up revealing who you were, what did anything surprise you about that, I guess? Like, were you thinking, oh, we're going to like plummet after I reveal who I am? Or did you think like, once I reveal who I am, people will be more invested personally? Like, where did you land on that?
Well, I fully expected the account to like mass unfollows. That's what I expected.
Really?
Oh yeah, and Jeremy was like, "Dude, it's not going to happen like that." And because I was
Yeah.
like, because by then this is not okay. So this is like a real moment. I was pretty invested by then, like heart wise, and I do have. Man, burden is probably the best word. Like I have a burden for people who do what I do in churches. And I didn't expect I never expected it to grow like this. I never expected it to, when we do Instagram lives, people from other countries, that is like the most surreal moment when you see watching from South Africa or watching from Hong Kong or whatever. And I'm like,
And then there's me making
What?
memes of you.
yeah, exactly. And so I did. I thought, I kept saying, you know what, people are just, it's been a fun ride, but once we reveal, the novelty will be gone and people will just start unfollowing. And, thankfully that didn't happen. And the podcast continues to be, what we hope it would be is just a resource for, I just got a DM last night, and this happens almost every day. Hey, I've been playing guitar for 3 months. My pastor just came and said, "Congratulations, you're in charge of worship, and I'm leading this weekend for the first time. What do I do?" And so I'm thinking, okay, how do I condense 26 years into a DM that I can feel like typing on my phone? And so the podcast at least has become hey, I can say, go listen to episode maybe even number 1, where we talk about how to pick songs and why we pick certain songs and why we don't pick others, and things like that. So it's been a crazy ride. It's such an honor, and our prayer every week is that, and this came from Scott Longyear, who's a senior pastor who comes on the podcast. Every 5 or 6 episodes he comes on, and we always talk. He comes on and makes us respectable. So he comes, and his prayer for us is that may it never outgrow our character, or our ability to steward it well. That's really what we want to do. So,
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, from just hearing it comes across as like this moment of like kind of like almost God asking you to surrender it to him. And I don't know if that's what it was in that moment of just like you could remain anonymous and in your own like kind of strength, know and be safe, or like let go and then have this faith that whatever happens. And I don't know, like, was that kind of a moment for you? Was it kind of like, Abraham offering his son because God's like, hey, or was it just like,
yeah.
do you think there was that aspect behind it, or was it just
question.
like?
Yeah, for sure. It was, we had started to get some requests. Hey, would you come to our conference and speak? Or would you come to our college campus and speak? Or, there's a guy who's been following us from the very beginning who works for Chick-fil-A corporate. And way back in the very beginning, he was like, hey, if we, when you reveal who you are, if you ever do, you got to come and speak at one of the chapels at Chick-fil-A. And I was like, and so I started thinking, God.
It's a Christian dream right there.
Right.
Yeah, well, I definitely
absolutely.
thought he was going to be like, if you reveal who you are, we will give you lifetime Chick-fil-A.
Boom. I am in.
Yes,
Like
you're
just-
like
They
immediately.
just ship you freezer
I'm
boxes.
I'm Brian Tabor. This is who I am.
You're like, is this what they experienced when manna fell from heaven? Was Chick-fil-A shipping them sandwiches?
They're like, you have to
Absolutely.
eat it. You can't keep any of it. You have to eat it all in one day.
That's right. That's right.
Otherwise, worms.
Yeah. True. Kathy's like, get the sandwiches to him quick.
Oh yeah. So there was this moment of like, okay, God, if this is really been you building this, and it's a meme page, and so I try not to take it all that seriously, and hopefully the followers know when to take it seriously and when to not take it seriously, but sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, as you can probably relate, Jonathan. But it's my
Mine's a
thing
little
was,
different though.
Yeah.
Mine's like just for humor purposes, but then it's like I throw in some serious things every now and then. But I feel like you do a really good job of you have taken a meme page and you've thrown in a lot more like ministry aspects into it than most are able to.
Yeah,
Like for me, if I started doing like ministry stuff from a Jeff Goldblum page, people would be
wouldn't
like, "What
work.
is going
Yeah,
on?"
it wouldn't work.
And you were able to take your platform and be like, Worship Leader Probs. Yes, it's memes, but also like there are serious probs that we have, and you were able to move that so well into like serious aspects.
Well, I appreciate that. It's not like there's a playbook for any of us, right? We're just kind
Right.
of making it up
Yeah.
as we go along.
Absolutely.
That's how we feel about this podcast. Is like we just kind of started it, and then we're like, all right, guess we're gonna stick it out here for a while.
And I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it's really cool to like hear the story behind this, because to me, I get this aspect of like, if you're out there and you have this creative outlet, or maybe not even like necessarily creative, but you just kind of want to do something because maybe you're frustrated at where you're at, it's not like God can use it,
Yeah.
because I don't know if you were just like, I'm going to start this and then it'll just fizzle out one day. And maybe that was the mindset, but then like you started it and God was like, oh yeah, this is exactly, you're in my will 100%. And you don't even know what I'm going to do with this. And it's a meme page. And for us in our like little minds, we're like, God would never use a meme page, to reach people. But here you are in this ministry, like that is a complete ministry now. And it's encouraging because it's like, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you want to do something along these lines, just do it.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you don't know what God is going to do, especially if you remain faithful to who he is.
Yeah.
And keep seeking him and are willing to like sacrifice and put yourself out there, because once you do that, he's going to do things exponentially beyond what you even imagined.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I almost felt like I needed to say amen after that.
Amen,
'Cause I was like,
right?
that was like a sermon, dude.
Right?
I was like, whoa.
Let's hit Golden Corral. We just did it.
we just got out of church. We just got out of church early, so we're gonna definitely beat the crowd to Golden Corral. Yeah, I totally agree with what Christian is saying. Like,
Absolutely.
I think it's one of those things where you ended up with a platform of people, and it's. I think that sometimes as a Christian, like that, we have a responsibility of like when people are listening to us. No matter what the platform is, like we're supposed to use that platform, and like I've even weirdly experienced that with the Jeff Goldblum page. Like people found out that I work in youth ministry, and suddenly I'll have people messaging me, and they're just like, "Hey, like I'm having a terrible week, and like, what do you think about this situation I'm going through?" And I'm like, "Are you sure you want to have this conversation with the Jeff Goldblum page? Because I'll have it, but it's gonna be really weird for you, I'm sure."
Right.
And so. At the same time, I don't like shy away from it because it's like a platform, and some people they feel more comfortable talking to someone who's like removed from the situation, like especially in your case, because you're not in that congregation with these worship leaders, and they may be having like some really horrible problem, and they're like, I don't know who I can even talk to about this. Like everyone is connected to it, and then they all of a sudden are like, hey. Well, here's this page, and they seem to like have insight, and they don't know what they're talking about. I'm just going to ask them. And so you using that platform is pretty cool.
Well, thanks, man. It really it's on a one hand, I love the church. It's the bride of Christ. I am committed. I've been a part of serving the church my whole life, and I have no intentions of stopping. But it can kind of be a commentary on, church staff life is not always, super peaceful, and
Right.
it can be hard. It can be isolating. It can be lonely to be in leadership sometimes, and the relationship between you and your senior pastor is so important, between you and your volunteers, you and the congregation, and so we're just trying to have a place where people can talk about it. You can talk about your issues, and we do try to do it from a humorous, we have like what Jonathan had submitted to us. We have this segment on our podcast called Prayer Concerns, where people send in the funny criticisms, like, we had a lady walk up to the lighting guy, and say, "Hey, are you in charge of lights?" He says, "Yes." And she says, "Good. Well, the light in the women's bathroom is out. Can you go?" stuff like that. And it happens all the time. And there are lots of them we share. There are lots of them that we can't share because some of them are like soul crushing. But that
I will say there is one that is my favorite though. And it is the this is the one I always tell people about when I'm talking about your podcast.
Yeah.
And it's it's kind of a sleeper one for me. I don't know why I find it so funny, but it was the guy who said that the woman like walked up to him and said like his bass voice or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And he was 13.
Yeah, and
he's like, I was 13. I was like, oh my goodness. What is like, first of all, it just, that one to me killed me, dude. I remember I like wept laughing, sitting in
man.
my office
my
listening to
gosh.
that. And then I like ran next door to our media guy, and I was like, "You've got to hear this
Oh my
one. Like this
gosh.
one killed
Do
me."
you know which episode this is?
I don't know which episode that is.
I don't either.
because-
I could probably
Yeah.
find that, but
Yeah,
we need an
You're gonna have
intern.
to go through them all.
Yeah,
Right.
you're just gonna have to
You're
listen
just
to
gonna
all
have
of
to
them
go through
and
to
give
find-
him 5-star reviews.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh,
We know
man.
the game now.
That's right. If you're on Instagram, just follow them.
yeah. But I think it's really cool how it's developed like that.
Well, thanks,
for
man.
you.
And you've been amazingly supportive. And I will tell you this, like the greatest meme template of all time, in my opinion, is yours with like the old school Jeff Goldblum on one side and the new hip Jeff Goldblum on the other
Yeah.
side. And now you've added a third Jeff Goldblum,
Yes.
and you're like, Amazing Grace. This is Amazing Grace. That kills me every single time.
That's
you do
the
it.
one that ended up going on Phil Wickham's page too, and then it was like on Chris Tomlin's story.
yeah?
And I was like, "What is going
What
on
is
right now?"
happening? Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a weird moment. And then I like rocketed up like 4,000 followers in
Wow.
one
So
day or
cool.
something like that.
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
something
That's so
absurd.
cool. So cool.
But
You do
and I love
with
it.
those?
I do love it when those guys kind of play along. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Not all of them do, but some of them are like, oh yeah, we gotta. Like,
Yeah.
I just posted one a couple days ago. Alyssa Kilala, who is married to Chris Kilala in
Yeah.
Jesus Culture, she posted this picture of her in like a pilgrim hat. And she's
Yeah.
holding her baby, and he is like not interested at all. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I sent her a DM. I was like, "That is super memeable," and she was like, "Do it and do whatever you
Nice.
want with it." And so I'm like, it's cool when people like that play along.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's like
I also respect you getting. Sorry,
No, I
my
do.
turn to talk.
Go for it. That's fine. We're not gonna fight
I
over here.
respect you for like asking and not just doing it. You know, like. 'cause
Well,
I
I'm like,
think
this
that's
is
the
her and
line.
her child. I'm like, you know,
Yeah,
I
Right.
want to make sure that's cool with you. So
Yeah, absolutely.
there's the one meme you did, and it was like tied into your podcast where y'all were talking with Chris McLarney, and he was talking about him running to the ice cream truck in the middle of the worship set. You didn't hear?
No,
So Chris, he basically in the middle of them, like performing like
they're
worship
at a park.
set.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
at like an outdoor park.
And basically he sees an ice cream truck like pull up in the background, And I'd laughed so much because in the podcast he said he just thought, if there's like a prayer break, like a group prayer break, I'm going to run to that ice cream truck and get ice cream.
Yeah.
And he said that they started praying and he was like, slipped out, ran to the ice cream truck and got a cone of ice cream. And there's a picture. I'll show you. There's a picture where it's just like him with the guitar on, standing at the background of like this pavilion with an entire band, and he's just like face deep into a cone of ice cream. And I just,
So he wasn't leading.
no, he was.
Oh, he was
Yes, he was leading. He like ran to the ice cream truck. Where is my phone? I've lost it.
That dude is
But-
crazy, man. He is
Oh my
crazy.
gosh. I mean, he's living, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I was like,
Absolutely.
only he would have the guts to like run mid worship to an ice cream truck, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that is the way to do it. I've got
That
to
is
find it. How far
fantastic.
back was that?
He's crazy. That's probably a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, I would think.
When it comes to, thinking of the memes, like, how easy is it for you almost now? Like, is it just, like, second nature that you're just like, bam, I know exactly what I'm going to say?
There are seasons that are like that. Oh, you just found it?
Yeah, I
Yes.
just found it.
Oh my gosh,
I
dude.
love it, dude.
Worship
It's so
runs
funny.
long
He's
and you
just
hear
like
that.
right there back. Yeah, it says when the worship runs long and you hear that ice cream truck
my
drive by,
gosh.
which is funny because you're just like, oh, that's a hilarious meme, but you're like, no, that really happened.
really
Like,
happened.
That's exactly what happened.
Oh, my gosh.
Well,
So-
there are seasons where they roll off and you've got, 6, 8, 10 of them in the hole, like getting ready to share. And then for me at least, there are seasons where it is like, I wake up and I'm like crying out to, what am I going to share today? Help.
Lord, let someone do something.
Right.
I think it was last week I went like 4 days without posting anything, and I was like, people are gonna think I died. Like, it was just because I'm like desperately trying to figure out how to hack into Disney Plus.
Some weeks it's really hard, man. And so I have a couple of places like apps that I use to make the memes that have Giphy inside them or whatever. And so I'll just start looking and I'm like, oh, I can do something with that.
You got that
Okay.
Meme-matic going on, don't you? You got Meme-matic? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, gosh.
I do, what do I use?
Tell me your resources.
Pick, Play, Post is the one I use
Whoa.
a lot. And so it has, is it pronounced Giphy? G-I-P-H, Giphy.
Yeah.
It has Giphy inside it. So you can look at them right there. You can search and just
Nice.
pull them into a frame and then add the text. So
Wow.
I use that one a lot.
By the way, I'm very distracted by this hat you're wearing because I think I might be in love with it. Your WorshipLeaderProbs hat.
Here's the
So,
deal.
for-
I tried. This was a test, and if you were looking at it in person, I was not happy with how it turned out. So we've never sold any of them, but there are some hats coming.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
there's
So
some hats coming.
y'all heard it here first. I mean, we announced our
That's
merch,
right.
but man, Worship Leader Probs, you've got some good merch.
Oh, thanks,
So,
man. Hey,
do.
I've got some gold. I got a Goldblum shirt, man. I
He
wear it.
did. He got
Ooh.
one of my Goldblum
My
shirts.
gosh,
Absolutely.
The question is, where do people find his merch?
Well, why don't you plug that for us, Brian?
Yeah, so on our Instagram page, there's a link in our bio, and it's one of those like you click the link and then it takes you to all of our links. And so
A link tree.
yeah, if you click that, it'll the very top one is our online store, so you can do that. And we've got a Black Friday sale going through December 3rd. Everything in the store is 25% off. So
Nice.
yeah, gotta represent.
25% off, like an
Yeah.
employee discount.
That's
Right,
So if you're having,
exactly.
if you're having problems finding a gift,
Yeah,
Boom.
there you go.
Worship Lead Problems gift, and your
That is
problems will go
maybe
away.
maybe the smoothest segue I have ever heard.
Well, thank you.
Well, it's much better than his last one because last week.
Wait, last week? Last night?
No. Like I got mixed up. 2 episodes ago, I had a great segue that I was going into, and I was just like, "Oh,
Dude,
speaking of segues," and then all of a sudden I hear in the background Christian just do segue, eat fresh.
I heard that.
I loved it.
And then I just start like kind of chuckling uncontrollably. I was like,
I was listening back to it, and I still died laughing to me
it's so
saying that,
good.
and I was like,
That's
man, why
fantastic.
is that not a thing?
Man,
That's
I don't even-
awesome.
I don't even know how long have we been recording, Brian? What time is it here?
I'm at 55 minutes, but I had
Wow.
Beautiful.
many minutes at the beginning where it was just us laughing about
Cool.
stuff.
So
It's just
we got
us
we got
laughing,
a
as is
smidge of
normal.
time here. We got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Taco
Well,
Boy's
when we add a third Taco Boy, we also add
An
another
extra 10
like an
minutes.
extra amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
I almost burped into the mic and I had to like pull away from it. That would have been a disaster.
Eat
It's like
fresh.
a PR disaster.
Oh
We're
my
go-
gosh!
sorry.
You just hear this edit in the middle of it.
You just hear a robot afterwards be like, "Excuse me."
Hey, Christian, where is that
Yes.
shirt from?
This? Oh, this
Yeah.
is from Liberty University.
Is that where
LU.
that's where you're in school?
Yes, sir.
How far is that from you?
It is from where we are right now. It's an hour
Okay.
north.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do some like I mentioned experience conference. We have the LU Praise group
Oh yeah.
that comes. Man, they are
Le price.
they're so
Le
they're
Praise.
so
Yeah.
incredible, man.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
so incredible. So we were at a retreat and I've been on this team for I don't know 4 years and I'd never been asked to lead anything, which was just fine with me. So Longyear was doing a devotional one morning and he goes, "Hey, I need you to come up afterward and lead a couple of songs." Oh, okay. So sure, like old white guy gets to the keyboard to lead. So I walk into the room. And LU Praise is sound checking. And this is like, I don't know, 30 college kids led by this unbelievably, like the most talented musician I've ever worked
Yeah.
with, the dude
Yeah.
who leads it. And so they're
Yeah.
sound checking and I text Longyear and I'm like, "Bro, yeah,
There's no way.
LU Praise is on this morning. I'm gonna take a hard pass on leading." And he goes, "Oh, that's for later in the day." And so, sure enough, we get into the session, and I followed LU Praise, which is maybe the low point of my ministry. So
Everyone's just ready for the rapture to happen. After
Exactly,
They
and
sing.
here
They're like,
comes-
"Jesus, come now!"
right, and here I come. Who's ready to sing?
You just gotta like tap the mic. You're like, "Is this on?"
Exactly. Oh my
Can everyone
gosh.
hear me in the back?
It's like I'm looking at
I do
him
want to
like,
discuss something that I almost discussed on the last podcast, but then I saved it. I saved it for you here.
Oh gosh.
Because Brian sent me a video, and I haven't shown you the video,
No,
Christian.
you haven't. Oh,
And it holds a special place in my heart now
no. Oh, no.
because he sent me a video of him playing the Jurassic Park theme song in the background of a closing to a sermon at his church, dude. And I loved it.
Oh my
so I have to scroll back a little bit and find it here.
dude, why aren't you just going through your media portion?
I don't know. You're the tech guy. I'll play it into the microphone.
The
as
voice of
well.
reason is Christian.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's apropos with my name.
All right, here we go. Brian
I don't want
Tabor.
to add any extra guilt on anybody's shoulders or beat anybody up. I want to talk to people right where they are right now today, moving forward. The future is ahead of us. There's a point where we have to kind of, at times, forget what's behind us. We have to set our direction to the future in obedience to you.
Oh my gosh.
So
Oh
speak
my
to our
gosh.
It works too well. Honestly.
Yeah, it does, right?
and help us to
The octave jump did wonders, dude. Oh man,
Oh,
I
my
was,
gosh.
that was probably one of the funniest things that anyone's ever said to me that they've ever been involved in because I was just like, "Oh
Brian.
my word, Brian is playing Jurassic."
your mind at this moment?
Okay, so
You're like, "I'm gonna send this to Jonathan."
What
That's
did
what
the
it was.
spirit lead, and you
So-
were just like, "All right."
yeah, so that was a couple years ago actually, and so it was a season where guys on staff were texting me while I was at the keyboard, and they would just randomly, it'd say like Indiana Jones, or it would say Flintstones or Brady Bunch, and that particular day.
Wait, the Flintstones?
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
work in Flintstones? Meet
I-
the Flint. Oh, copyright.
Well, I did it
Oh.
really slow. So, but
Yeah.
that day it was Jurassic Park, and this was a guy who works on our facilities team, and he was up in the balcony and like in perfect line of sight. And so I started kind of sneaking it in, And he didn't hear it. Like his head was bowed like a good, Christian.
Amen.
And so then his wife was next to him, and she raises her head up. Her eyes get real big, and she gives him the elbow, and then his eyes get real big, and he just both arms, in the air.
It's like the most invested he's ever been in worship.
Exactly. And here's the deal: he's not on our staff anymore, and he went on to another job, and so just randomly. The day I sent that video to you, which was maybe a week or two ago,
Yeah, something like that.
I just randomly got that video from him in a text message with no description, no nothing.
Oh my
He just sent that to me. So yeah, that was
fantastic.
It's now. Have you ever worked in a song, and like it ended up, you were like, this is not the vibe that it needs to be. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Flintstones is pretty close to that.
Yeah, and that was not at my current church. That was at another church. And so I do remember when I worked that in, people in the congregation, you see them like their heads are bowed, but you see their shoulders are kind of starting to bob up and down. And I'm like, okay, abort. We need to be done. We need to be done with the Flintstones thing.
You could have just like pulled a Bethel and been like, they're laughing in the spirit. Like,
That's
like,
right. That's right.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like sometimes like there has to be that line of like, I guess this is serious, but every prayer at the end of a sermon, does it really always need to be just like
Yeah,
hit home?
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
punching
Or
you in the face with.
can it be
being
like that?
somber.
Like, hey, we're just gonna leave having a good time,
Right,
You
right.
know? Like,
And
why not leave?
that Jurassic Park one works so
Dude,
well.
I
It's like
bet, man.
slow
It feels
and melodic.
heartfelt.
Yeah,
Well, it's
exactly.
Yeah,
It's like there's a
encouraging.
yearning.
It's like, you're like, I'm ready to take on the world now.
It was like Brian was so focused on whether he could do it that he didn't stop to think if he should.
Just like the Goldblum.
Yeah,
Look at that.
man. Now I'm like, maybe I gotta meme that. And be
Full
like,
circle. Full circle.
Wow.
But
That's
Hey,
how-
I love what you guys are doing, man. I absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan of the Goldblum page, and I'm a huge fan of the Taco Boys podcast. So
man, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
yeah.
It's
So
cool to
much.
it's cool to hear that
Yeah.
from people.
I mean, to me, it's still like amazing that someone wants to be on our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm in, man. The thing
We're
that
just
you
two
do
boys with a dream. Sorry.
the thing you do with the cards from Honest Youth Pastor, I love, and so
Yeah.
I not to monopolize this, but so my wife leads this ministry, right, called Stripped Free. It's a ministry to sexually exploited women in strip clubs in the city of Indianapolis. So I was telling her about those cards, and so she's in the process of like opening a kind of a drop-in center where the ladies can come when they're not working, and there would be like support groups and community meals and all kinds of stuff. And I was telling Kim about those cards. And I'm like, this is solid gold, man, for you to just start conversations. And so I love all of the podcasts that you're doing, but I love it when you're into those. You guys are so like thoughtful about the answers, and I love that.
And we a lot of times end up enjoying those episodes a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
Like we always like stop recording and we're just like, man, that was a good conversation. And I mean, like you said, not to monopolize it, but just like straight up, Michael with Honest Youth Pastor, like when he sent those to us, man, like we were so happy, and he just did a great job with those cards.
Yeah,
he really did.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Did I tell you he came to my church?
Yeah. So I saw the picture of y'all together, but I'm jealous because it's like I want to meet up with both of y'all in person.
It would be so
But then it's
awesome,
like
man.
y'all just met.
He had it. He sent me a DM, and he was like, "Hey, man, I think I'm coming through your area. Is it okay if I stop at your church?" And I immediately was like, "Oh gosh, what are we singing? Is every?"
Oh no, it's a bad weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
exactly.
church is canceled."
I'm feeling real sick. But yeah, he came and we got to talk for a while afterwards. Such a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
So
He
sweet.
seems really solid.
And I love his page has been a great, like they always say, you want to be a faster runner, then find somebody who runs faster than you do and run with them. And so for us, he's one of those guys because he has taken a meme page and now just brings like straight fire with any issue under the sun. Dude is not afraid to tackle anything.
I was talking to
love it.
Christian about that yesterday.
This.
I was like, this dude will he will call out anyone, and he will talk about any issue that's happening currently. I mean, it's like if it's going on, he can talk about it.
Yeah.
And he talks about it so well too.
Absolutely.
And he does those videos with ODG apparel.
Right.
And those have been awesome. I watch every single one of them.
And by the way, what does he do for a living? Works for Frito-Lay.
Yep.
Wow.
And then just gets on there and preaches fire, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Dude. Love that dude.
Yeah.
So sweet.
So, man, I feel like this. It's like there are those episodes where you're like, I just could keep going forever.
I know.
You know.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys.
And
are
this is
easy
not
to
one
talk
of them
to,
because Brian's been the worst.
man. Exactly. Hey, and if it ends up stinking and you make up some reason like you had audio problems,
oh man,
or whatever,
it's just
be
the
gentle.
episode didn't make it up.
Just
Be gentle.
It's like someone we talked about. That episode just didn't make it up suddenly.
Oh my god.
You know who you are if you hear this.
We know you're listening to the Taco Boys.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming up. My voice went up 5 octaves.
When you lie to someone and your voice goes up.
Thank you for showing up on the Taco Boys.
And you're touching your face.
I just pull a hanky out and I'm just patting the sweat off of my forehead. Yeah, we had a great time, Brian.
I was
No.
like, so does your voice get lower when you're telling more of the truth?
Yeah. You're in court and you're like, I did.
podcast.
See, what that is like in the Worship Leader Probs podcast, he was telling more of the truth than he is now. His voice was lower.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And now that people know who he is, he has to lie all the time.
All the time.
This is the worst plug for you. I'm sorry.
Hey, was that meme about me? Oh no. Somebody sent
You're
that to
like,
me.
absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Somebody from Florida sent me that.
Yeah. They're like, are you playing the Jurassic Park theme in the back of the prayer? No. What?
I would never do that.
Is
I would
that what
never
that
do
was? Oh my gosh. What are the odds?
Like,
the
I didn't.
spirit moves
It just,
in mysterious ways.
I just all of a sudden knew how to play it. But yeah, we've had a good time, dude.
Hey, me too.
We'll have to,
Thanks
we'll
for
have to
asking.
have you back.
I'd love
and
it. I would love
have
it.
a sequel.
We need to do it in person.
Yes.
Right.
Just drive to Danville.
Yeah.
We'll get some tacos from Mucho Tacos.
Oh, is that what you were talking about last night?
Yes,
Yeah.
dude. That's,
Come on.
Oh,
That sounds good.
man.
Oh yes.
It's Mucho
Fantastic.
is fantastic. Not a paid
That's
sponsor.
Just what I just said.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Yeah, they have really good tacos.
If you want to sponsor us, I mean, come on.
Yeah, if Mucho
Right?
wanted to sponsor us, I'd be like 100% yes.
Seriously.
Nice.
But come down to Danville,
Uh-oh.
hang out
you
with
got
us,
it. You got it.
come
I'd
to
love
church with us.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, there it is.
All right.
I think we're done. And,
I think this is it.
yeah,
Thank you so much, Brian.
and Christian's gonna scat beat us out of this
Okay.
hizzy, and now you get to experience that firsthand, Brian. So here's my radio voice, which means I'm telling the truth. Oh boy. Thank you so much for listening to the Taco Boys podcast. We had Brian Tabor here. He was forced into it by gunpoint, but, he had a great time, I think. Just follow us on Instagram. Give us a 5-star review to help us out. And have a good rest of the day.
Good.